My name is Anna, and I'm the head of sales at PacerPro. Thanks so much for joining. In today's presentation, I will provide a quick overview of our nationwide search and show you how to complete a litigant profile. To get started, go to PacerPro.com and sign in. On your My Cases tab, navigate over to the search interface by clicking the search icon. Then, on the search interface, click Pacer Case Locator. PacerPro provides direct, real-time access to the Pacer Case Locator system. That means that you can conduct nationwide searches. To get started, enter a party name. For example, I might want to profile Facebook. You can enter a date range as necessary. For example, I might be most interested in the last 5 years of litigation. Enter a client code and click Search. As you can see, it will start to populate results. It will then give you an estimate of the total number of results and, where the cost exceeds $1, give you the option to continue loading or stop loading. Since this is only $1.40 for 730 results, I'm going to continue loading. I will then be presented with a complete search history that looks like this. As you'll note, once the search history is complete, I'll have 611 cases, although the system had initially estimated 732. What is this discrepancy due to? Well, when Pacer Case Locator goes out and searches, if a particular party, such as Facebook, appears in a case in more than one role, for example, as a defendant and a cross-defendant, Case Locator will mark this as two separate results. PacerPro will just mark it as one. So if we scroll down here for a second, looking for one of these cases, for example, in the Frank Wire case, Facebook appears as both a defendant and a counterclaimant. PacerPro will just mark this as one case and show you that Facebook appears in two separate roles. We've got a wealth of information available to us here from the search page. On the right-hand side, we have our case summaries, just as always, showing us the case title, the match term, how they appear, the judge, court, first and last filing, related bankruptcies, a number of docket entries. On the left-hand side, we have an overall view of Facebook litigation. Let's look at this section by section. First of all, the system enables you to sort, for example, by cases with the most recent activity, most recent filings, or in alphabetical or reverse alphabetical order. Secondly, the system allows you to look at the different types of litigation. So, of 611 cases filed in the last 5 years, there are 367 civil, 21 criminal, about 10 bankruptcy, and a couple hundred other. We can also see where Facebook has been involved in litigation. Not surprisingly, about 200 cases out in California, and then a smattering in places such as Delaware, Illinois, Maryland, close to 100 out in New York, and again about 50 in Texas. The system will also tell you how many of these cases are open, here 155, or closed. We can also see the exact types of litigation that Facebook has been involved in, about 20 contract, 15 personal injury, 40 civil rights, and more than 100 copyright, patent, and trademark. For bankruptcy, we can see the different chapters, and we can also see what role Facebook has played. For example, of the 611 cases, they've appeared as a defendant 526 times, telling us that they're sued a lot more often than they sue. The system will also show us the matched terms, so we're able to select for the different entities, and the year filed. In this case, the information is quite interesting, because we see that in 2010 there were just 53 cases, 2011, suddenly there were 123, and in 2012, 186. Regardless of whether or not I was pitching Facebook as a client or suing them, I'd probably want to jump into these cases and make sure I understood why in those two particular years you had a sudden increase in the number of cases. Once you've got an overall understanding of Facebook's litigation, you can dive into relevant cases. Let's say, for example, that I have a client that wants to sue Facebook for a breach of contract. What are the cases that I might like to look at? Well, probably all of their other contract cases. So I can jump into the complaints and see if other people are suing Facebook for the same reason that my client wants to sue them. If possible, I'd love to see whether or not they've been in front of a particular judge before and see how those cases turned out. I'd like to see what kind of Facebook filings there are in response to the complaints. To get started with this, I'm first going to go to those with most recent activity. I'm going to limit to civil cases. Here, I'm not as concerned with litigation location, but I do definitely just want to see these 22 cases that relate to contract. And I would prefer to just see cases where Facebook appeared as a defendant. Once I've made my selections, I can scroll back up to the top, and I can see that of the total 611, there are about 18 cases that match my particular search criteria. Now I have two options. One, I can click Download Report, and for no cost, I'll be able to generate an Excel spreadsheet that will specify all of the cases that match my search criteria, including the case name, the judge, the court, the jurisdiction, and links that take you directly back to the docket sheet. Or I can start jumping into the docket sheet myself right now. As I mentioned, one of the things I might like to see are all of the complaints filed in contract cases against Facebook in the last 5 years. With our system, of course, that's no trouble. Just click here. Thanks again for your time today. That about covers our litigant profiling feature. There are a couple of quick notes that I'll make before I end. One, do remember that Pacer's case locator system does delay behind the district and bankruptcy courts by about 24 to 72 hours. So if you're looking for a particular case that was filed in the last 1 to 3 days, use our district or bankruptcy court search interface just as always. 2, do remember how cheap this search was to run. It costs just about $2 in Pacer fees for me to be able to profile the entire last 5 years of Facebook's federal district and bankruptcy court litigation. 3, remember that the reason that we go to Pacer, direct and in real time, is because Pacer is the only source of complete, up-to-date data results. That means that when you go through our system, you're getting unique competitive intelligence. We encourage you to run side-by-side tests with other services to see that this is true. As always, the help button is in the lower right-hand corner, or any questions can be directed to us over at sales@pacerpro.com. Thanks again. We really do appreciate your business.